on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Three things that ring true. They rang true last year, today, and next year. No matter what is happening in the world, in Washington and here in Arizona, this is always the message when we talk about creating calm amidst the storm. That's what we want to share with you here on the show today. Thanks for joining us on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates, author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And Phyllis, my goodness, that calm amidst the storm is what we're all looking for, because there's just a lot we don't know with the election, the holidays, the way we operate on a daily basis. It's all up in the air, and it's getting really hard for a lot of people, isn't it?
Oh, from day to day, what will things be like tomorrow? What will the holidays look like or not? What will the Senate look like or not? I mean, what's going on? I had to take a step back and really reflect. And here's what I will say to you. If you are about to retire, or even if you are retired, here's the truisms. Here's the things that I know. Here's the things that get me up. Here's the passion that I have. If you are retired or you're planning to retire, no matter what's going on around you, here's how you have calm amidst the storm. Clearly understand in your personal situation how much risk you're taking. I mean, in real numbers. Let's know those real numbers. How much in your portfolio can your portfolio go up in a great market? How much can it go down in a bad market like 2008? How much can you expect to earn on your portfolio in an average market? Know those numbers. That can give you some certainty so that you can make real decisions about what's appropriate for you from a position of what you want your money to do and from a position of how comfortable you are with those numbers. But get real numbers, not just subjective, objective. That's what we do for people all the time. When we start off our relationships, we put those numbers in front of people. And I want you to have that. Number two, taxes. I talk about this.
Yeah.
Your plan, where you are today. What is your future tax liability? How much will you be paying on your portfolio in taxes? How much will you be giving back to Uncle Sam in the future? Not just today, not just on April 15, not just talking about preparing it, but what's the plan? What is that future tax liability? So if you've got $500,000 in your IRA that you haven't paid taxes on, what is that going to cost you with your tax rates, with what you expect to earn on your portfolio? Real numbers. And is there a way to take advantage of these tax laws in real numbers and save money? Because Uncle Sam's not your uncle. Your family's your family. You probably want to leave it to them. You probably want to take care of your spouse if something happens to you and leave more to them. Let's get very clear on that. That's another thing we do with our Retire Fit analysis. We do that analysis up front. Real simple. On one page, we show you what your future tax liability is based upon what your rates are and whether it makes sense to mitigate taxes by doing some, for example, Roth conversions. That's a second truth I know. You need to know your future tax liability, not just a guess, real numbers, not just what you're going to pay on April 15th or the year, but what you're going to pay in the future, and see if we can save money. I'm going to tell you, I'll bet you can probably save quite a bit by taking advantage of taxes being at a lower rate. And you're only going to know that if you know what your future tax liability is and then work backwards. See how we can mitigate those. Number three, just like you had a paycheck all these years that came in pretty reliably, you need a written income plan, a simple written income plan. You can look at it at a glance and see loud and clear. These are the questions that income plan, these are the things that it should answer. When is my income going to start? My paycheck, that now that my paycheck is going away from work, when is my paycheck based upon what I've done, what I've saved, what I've accumulated? When's it going to start? How much is it going to be? When am I going to take Social Security? If I have a pension, when am I going to take that? And, why am I going to take that? How am I going to get raises in retirement? Because inflation never sleeps. How's that going to happen? where am I going to take my money from? Which bucket of money am I going to take it from when? From a tax position, from an investment position? Real easy, laid out in front of you. And here's a good one. Here's the biggest question that most people have. Okay, how long is my money going to last? Your income plan should show you mathematically in front, in real easy terms, how long your money's going to last. Those are the truisms I know. If you don't know how much risk you're taking, if you can't see it at a glance in one report, if you don't know your tax planning, the future tax liability at a glance in one report, and you can't answer those questions that I just talked about, your income plan, simple income plan, not a bunch of paper put together or a bunch of assumptions, but really know what you're going to get, when, where, and how long it's going to last. You really don't have a retirement plan. And regardless of what's going around you, you can have those three things that will create calm amidst any storm. You've done the heavy lifting and you've saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement. These are things that you can have simple in front of you that can give you the answers to the questions that you need. And regardless if the market's up, down, or sideways, you can have that comfort. Regardless if taxes go up or down, you can have that control. Create some calm amidst the storm by having a plan that starts with knowing how much risk you're taking in real numbers, knowing how much income that you're going to have in real numbers, not just today and in the future and how long it's going to last, and knowing your future tax liability, coming up with strategies to make sure that you're not paying more than your fair share. All starts. If you're sitting here and you say, I have all these answers, I can go home and I can take out those reports and I can see it at a glance, congratulations. I am so happy for you, truly. But if you do not have those answers concrete, that is a great reason to come on in and sit down with us. That's where we start. We don't start with trying to show you products. We're fiduciaries, for goodness sakes. We want to educate you so that you can see that loud and clear. We want to guide you to see the things you're going to be faced with in retirement. And if there's any issues, go from there. That's why it's always our starting point, to give you these answers, to show you these things. And it's complimentary and there's no obligation. So again, if you saved $250,000 or more for retirement, if you can't answer those questions concretely, well, come on in, get a second opinion, a first opinion, or find out you're in great stead. Either way, 623-792-5496.
That number again is 623-792-5496 to reach Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus and the team at PSP and Associates. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. And Phyllis, I just think it is nice to hear something concrete and something certain, because we haven't had that. We haven't had that all year long, it seems like. So let's talk through this a little bit about the things that we need to know and what to do if we don't know these things as we are getting close to retirement. When you talk about things like what's going on with the risk with your money, what's going on with your income, and whether or not you need to consider some strategies to help you with your taxes down the road, talk a little bit more about what we need to do to get a better handle on all of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to make this comment personally. Okay. This is with everything that's going on, I got uncertain. Okay. And then I had to take a step back and say, what is it that I do know? And these are the truisms, and I can't help but sounding preachy. I do know that people getting people who've worked hard, you've done the heavy lifting, you've saved. I do know that if you understand in real numbers how much risk that you're taking, and you know what you want retirement to look like, you can see loud and clear whether you're taking the appropriate amount of risk, not enough, too much, and you can make adjustments. But it should be simple. We can put it right in front of you in a little package where you can see it. Okay. I do know that taxes are on sale right now. They're lower than they've ever been as long as I can remember. And I'm a geek. I look at these things and I know that taxes are absolutely going to go up in the future. I can't tell you when, but they are absolutely certainly at the latest by January 1 of 2026. I know that more than likely, if you can see what it's going to cost you in taxes, that there are probably strategies that you can take advantage of, like we do every day with our clients, that will save you a tremendous amount of money in the future. You'll keep your hard-earned money. You'll pass it on to your loved ones instead of Uncle Sam, who's really not your uncle. Not that you shouldn't pay your fair share. You should. Yeah. Okay. Right. I also know that if you have a written income plan that addresses those questions that I went through, and you can see it very simply, it's not a guess. You know when you're going to get your money and how much you're going to get and how you're going to get raises and how long it's going to last. You will have certainty. So the number to call to get all that, to get certainty during these chaotic times is 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. I want to give you that calm amidst the storm.
Talking today with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates, the author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. Again, create that calm amidst the storm by having certainty. Understand the numbers, understand what's going on with your financial situation, and then you can start mapping your way forward from there. But to get started on that, 623-792-5496 is the number. You can also check out the website, find out what's going on with Phyllis and the team. Retirewithpsp.com is the way you can do that. Again, retirewithpsp.com. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thanksgiving is a time to appreciate the blessings we all have in our lives. From the family at PSP and Associates to yours, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phyllis and her team at PSP and Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP and Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Medicare open enrollment has officially begun, opening up opportunities for you to maximize your coverage and maybe even save some money if you make the right choice. Let Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus and her 30-plus years of experience help you pick the plan that's right for you. Give Phyllis a call at 623-792-5496 today to get started, or visit PSP and Associates online at pspassoc.com. That's pspassoc.com.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. Phyllis was the first female advisor on the cover of Senior Market Advisors magazine. So glad to have her here today as we talk about the main pieces, the main pillars you need for a sturdy retirement. I'm Jen Rezac alongside, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned my own name or not, Phyllis. I think I got carried away there. But retirewithpsp.com is the website if you want to learn a little bit more about Phyllis and the team. You can also check out a lot of great resources available there on the website, retirewithpsp.com. And Phyllis, as we think about these main pieces of retirement, what I visualize is a structure that has those four big pillars, four big columns in the front, and they're there to keep that thing up. And if you take some of them away, you're not going to have a very sturdy structure. The whole thing could come crashing down. And that's kind of the visual we want you to have with your retirement. The pillars that we are saying that you need are protection, income, liquidity, and growth. So let's talk a little bit about about those pillars of protection and income, because obviously, Phyllis, you've got to have income in retirement, but you also have to make sure that you protect it so it'll still be there. So these two really go hand in hand, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And they all do. Each of these pieces, one of them, you really, your retirement's messed up, to be, be blunt. You need all of them. But let's talk about income and protection, because you're 100% right. Just like, when you don't have a paycheck when you're working, if all of a sudden that goes away, there's a little bit of a problem. Well, in retirement, you've worked your entire life and you want income to be able to pay those bills that you still have to pay every month and to enjoy. So that's extremely important. And you do have to protect that, because you don't want to go back to work.
Right.
Okay. And there's other things that you need to protect. So when we talk about income, so we've figured out what you want to do in retirement in your personal circumstances, not the guy next door, not the couple on the other side, but your circumstances, what your life's going to look like. We come up with a good estimate of what it's going to cost you. Now we want to look to where we're going to get that income from. What are our reliable sources of income that just are not going to go away? They're going to be there till the last one stands if you're married, okay, or till you stand if you're not, such as Social Security. Now, I've said this once, I've said it probably 100 different times. Social Security, I really believe if you're over 55 years old, although they'll make tweaks to it, I don't think that they're really going to take away our Social Security. Having said that, could they mess around with the cost of living increase and things of that nature? Yes. So what we want to do is make sure, rather than just make a knee-jerk decision, take it too early or too late, make a very well-informed decision so we can optimize Social Security, wring out every dollar and cents. But don't make it in a vacuum. There's a lot of different claiming strategies. Let's look at it together, your claiming strategy in the context of everything else that you have. So we can consider your tax liability of taking it early, the longevity liability of taking it early or later. And I'm going to tell you, everybody's situation is so different. 3 families come in a given day. I might have 3 entirely different recommendations. So we want to make sure we understand your fixed sources of income and make a great decision on those. We also want to make sure if you have a pension that we understand whether the pension, if they have strong claims paying ability, what the best way to take that pension is, should you take it in a lump sum? A lot goes into this, but we walk you through it in bite-sized pieces so that you can make a very well-informed decision. That's part of our Retire Fit analysis process.
And let's talk a little bit about, real quickly, Phyllis, I think it's a good place to mention, how do we get started on that Retire Fit analysis? We can pick up the phone, we can give you a call, talk a little bit about how we can reach you to get started on that.
Yeah, okay, so you can actually go to our website, retirewithpsp.com, and there's a calendar link so that you can set an appointment there, and someone from our office will call you to make sure you get all the right information to bring in to utilize that time. So that's retirewithpsp.com, or call us at 623-792-5496. And this is going to be value-added time, whether you're already retired, whether you're about to retire. For those of you you've worked hard, you've done some of the heavy lifting, you've saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement, and you want to make sure that you have things in the right places so that you can, live your life independently on your own terms. So great. I'm glad you reminded me to give out the phone number, 623-792-5496. So when it comes to income, you want to make sure that you protect those reliable sources, make the right decisions on that, whether it be your pension, whether it be your Social Security. You also want to compare what you're going to need in income minus these reliable sources of income and what your gap is. How much of what you've saved, if you're like most people, you have a gap between what those guaranteed sources or reliable sources of income are and how much you're actually going to need each month coming in to be able to live your retirement independently and on your own terms. We need to determine what that is. We need to factor that for inflation. And then we need to see what is the best way to build out your income plan. Now remember, if you're going to need it in the short run, here's where protection comes in. Unless you have a crystal ball and you know what the stock market's going to do, okay, you need money coming in. You need to have that money coming in reliably, and you probably want to take a little bit less risk if you're going to need money in the next year to 5 years. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a client, we set up an income plan for them in December when the market was skyrocketing, okay? And you know that this is a volatile year.
Right.
They were inclined to take more risk till I showed them what that would do to their income plan, how much they were taking. And they erred on the side of caution. And when the market went down, they're enjoying their retirement. Need I say more? So yeah, we want to make sure we have protection on that income, at least over the short years, because we don't want it to impact what we can spend. We also have to protect our income and make sure if we're married that it's there for our spouse if something happens to us prematurely. I always say this, but my husband and I agree. I go 15 minutes before him, so we're not going to have that income problem.
No way.
But that's right. But so many people could if you don't protect that income. So you've got to have inflation-adjusted income. It's got to be reliable. The sooner you're going to need it, the less risk you want to take on that income. As you go further out, you have time to recover for markets ups and downs. When it comes to protecting that income, you also need to consider how much income are you going to receive in your hand after you pay taxes. That's where tax planning comes in. It's so important to understand, hey, I got $1 million in my retirement account. Well, how much of that are you actually going to keep? It's not the whole million.
Right.
Depending upon your circumstances, it might be a lot less. So if you figure out that you can take 40 grand a year from that million, you're wrong because you're going to pay the tax man first. So we've got to protect it. We've got to have protection that way. We also, as we build that income plan that's going to maintain your retirement, we also want to make sure that that income doesn't go away and become devastated, just dissipate if we have a healthcare crisis. So we want leverage for our healthcare crisis in there. So the income and protection go hand in hand. You know, during the accumulation phase, while we're working, our paycheck is our protected income plan. Mm-hmm. And what we save, we get accustomed to just growing it and taking all the risks that we can because it's not impacting our life right now. But too many people retire and don't realize that what they've accumulated their whole life now has to become their secure income plan. And we've got to build it more reliably, more safely. And we also have to make sure that it's going to last the rest of our lives. So we have to consider how much risk we're taking, what's appropriate in our circumstances, what our tax situation is, how much, how can we be as tax efficient as possible? And how can we make sure that that income's there, whether the market's up, down, or sideways when we're going to need it? So it all starts with, if you want to make sure that you have that right income plan, it's got to be written. And that's what we do with our Retire Fit analysis. Once we determine how much income you need, we'll build with you a retirement income plan that's going to be tax efficient, inflation adjusted, and something that you can't outlive. And the number to call to get started is 623-792-5496, 623-792-5496.
This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. That number one more time, 623-792-5496. And Phyllis, I just want to point out as well real quickly, this is a good time to get a second opinion as well, because a lot of us have done some of these things. We've thought about income, but maybe we haven't fully thought about how to protect it, or we just haven't thought a whole lot about how we'll actually get the money out of the things that we've saved. So a second opinion is a part of this as well. Could you just speak to that really quickly?
Oh, Jen, I'm so glad that you said that. So many times, and I feel bad oftentimes, people think that they have an income plan if they've saved X amount of dollars and they're taking out a percentage of that. If you don't know your risk, if you don't know what you're going to need, when you're going to need it, and You don't know the fees that you're paying. You don't know the tax liability, and you don't have this income plan, what you're going to take, when you're going to take money from which bucket. You don't have an income plan. So even if you think you do, it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. Yes, please call us. We do it all the time. If you're in good stead, we're going to tell you that. We're always going to part friends. We'll have a few laughs, give you a little bit of information, and we'll send you on your merry old way, and that'll be great. But if there's an issue, you want to find out now versus later. And if you don't have a written income plan, there may be 623-792-5496.
This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. We'll be back.
Thanksgiving is a time to appreciate the blessings we all have in our lives. From the family at PSP and Associates to yours, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. RetireWithPSP.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. They've got a lot of great information available there on the website as well. RetireWithPSP.com, and we're talking about the 4 pillars for your retirement plan. When you think about your retirement, visualize a structure that has 4 columns in front holding it up. And if you knock any of those out, the structure is going to just fall forward. And that's not what we want with our retirements. And Phyllis, the 2 pillars that we want to talk a little bit about in this part of the show are liquidity and growth. And we'll get to growth here in just a minute. I want to start with liquidity. Talk about why that's so important. I feel like so often on this show, we really focus on income and protecting our income from taxes and all these other things. And we talk about growth. Why is liquidity such an important piece?
Well, believe it or not, life is going to happen.
All right.
And there's always going to be that liquidity event. Mm-hmm. Okay. Always going to be something that comes up that you didn't anticipate that you need money for. And if you have all your money in the market and the market happens to be down, or you have it tied up into, it's part of your income plan, and you take money out of that, then you have less income for the rest of your life. So it's advisable to have liquidity where if you need it, you're not going to sell 2 shares for the price, sell 2 shares for the price of 1, right, and never get that money back. So we always suggest that you have liquidity, and typically 6 months of your anticipated budget is a good place to start. And I always like to think that if you had to go deeper, that you've got a resource. Let's say you have your house paid off, a line of equity that doesn't cost you anything, just available so that you don't have to do crisis planning. You can write a check to pay for that emergency and then figure out where's the best place to take that money from afterwards.
Okay.
So liquidity is extraordinarily important.
All right. So, and I think that's good to talk about because it does get overlooked sometimes. But as you're saying, life sometimes happens and we're still going to have things pop up where we need access to that money. It's just we don't want to have full access to 100% of our money. It's about a balance with all of these things.
Yeah, that's a good point because too much in low interest rate accounts right now, safe, liquid, is going to come back to bite you,
right?
Because inflation never sleeps.
Yeah.
That too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Right.
That's why I start with 6 months typically.
And I'm glad you mentioned inflation because that's one of the reasons why we need to think about some growth potential in here as well. If we have everything too liquid, it's probably not going to be generating much in the way of growth. So talk a little bit about how we get that piece in here because, we probably don't get to go into retirement with just what we've saved and say, all right, that's it. We've got this amount and this is what I live on for the rest of my life. No other potential for growth, right?
Yeah, the good old days, people could go to the bank and put their money there along with their secure pension and their secure Social Security, and they'd just be fine. And they didn't live quite as long. But now we've got to be concerned about longevity. We've got to be concerned with inflation, with interest rates being so low. We're going to experience inflation in our lifetime. So yes, we absolutely have to have some long-term growth. And it's interesting. They call stocks securities, but I don't know how secure they are in the short term.
You're right.
Isn't that funny? They call them securities.
Yeah.
Over the long term, I'm going to say this. I believe that everybody should have the right amount in growth potential vehicles, such as stocks, because but I say the right amount. Everybody's amount's going to be different, but everybody needs that. But the key is, over the long term, we know this. We look back in history, and the market always does come back.
Right.
So even if we had, we go back to the lost decade, right? From 2000 through 2009, really the S&P 500 was flat from the beginning to the end.
Right.
If you needed your money in the middle of that for income, you could have outlived your money.
Wow.
But if you just had that money to the side and you didn't touch it, at least at the end of that period of time, you were back and you let it grow a little bit longer and now you were good. So we need some long-term growth money, but we need to protect our money in the short term, make sure we have enough liquid, make sure we have enough solid income to keep up with inflation and to pay our income. But we also need a piece, or a pillar, if you will, as we're talking about them today, of long-term money that we don't need to touch until the long term. So that if we have a healthcare crisis later on in life, or inflation's crazy, or we lose some income because a spouse passes away, we've got it there. So we all need that, but we need the right amount of money in the long-term bucket, and we got to get the timing right. We got to get the timing right to match up with the risk. Very, very, very important to have growth potential. Otherwise, inflation's going to erode what we live on. And we're going to be we're going to be in trouble if we just keep it under the mattress.
Right.
Or we put it all in the income.
Right. And I think, again, going back to doing this the right way, getting the right balance, and putting this together in a way that makes sense, that's the key here. And Phyllis, that's exactly what your Retire Fit analysis does. It helps us figure out which pieces we need as far as growth potential, protection, income, liquidity, all those main pillars of our retirement plans. That's really what your Retire Fit analysis is all about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. What do we need the money to do when? What's the purpose of this money? We build purpose-driven plans, and the Retire Fit analysis walks us through the process of understanding what we need for money, what our money's doing now from all aspects, from a tax aspect, from an income aspect, from a growth aspect, and once we understand what it's doing, what are the gaps, and how can we build those pillars correctly so that we have the right amount of protection to protect from all the things that could come along and take away our lifestyle, our hard-earned money. What's the right amount of income? What do we need in the way of income to supplement Social Security? Right decision on that. Any pensions we may have, and inflation-adjusted income. How much do we need liquid for those emergencies? What are we comfortable with? Where are we going to get it from? And how much growth can we afford? And we lay it all out so that you understand and can make well-informed decisions. You just can't have a medley, a bucket of money that's supposed to do income and growth and liquidity and healthcare, excess money needed. You just can't throw it all in like most people do during the accumulation phase, stocks and bonds, and not pay attention to tax diversification. So our Retire Fit analysis breaks it all down in those bite-sized pieces. So at the end of the day, you have that solid plan that gives you the right amount of protection, liquidity, growth potential, and income. And it all starts with picking up the phone and calling us at 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496.
Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is founder and president of PSP and Associates. That number again, 623-792-5496. Phyllis, as we talk about the need for these things, the protection, the growth potential, the income, and the liquidity, do you think the main reason we need all of these things and is because of this idea that we're living longer in retirement? I mean, I think back to what retirement used to look like and how long people were retired. You've kind of alluded to this today, but we really need all of these things because we're talking potentially 3 or 4 decades in retirement, right? Can you just talk about the length of retirement real quickly here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, somebody retires at 60 easily. At least if they're married, at least one of them can make it well into their 90s, if not both of them. That's 30 years without a paycheck. How do you do that without a plan that prepares for that? I don't see how.
Yeah. I really don't see how either. It just seems like something that we know fundamentally, and yet we kind of overlook it, or we don't fully think, or we don't fully understand just what things could look like 30 years into the future. It's kind of a disconnect.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, you know how we say kids today don't learn how to handle money the right way. They don't learn about the fundamentals of money. I say the same thing when it comes to retirement planning. I apologize if this is you, but whether you're close to retirement or whether you're already retired and you think you have a plan, if you don't have all these pillars, you probably don't have a plan. You're stuck in the accumulation phase, and that can come back to bite you. It is an entirely different. All the rules and tools that you use to get through the accumulation phase, they change when whatever you have is going to last you the rest of your life, and that could be a long time. Mm-hmm. So you need to build a fundamentally strong plan. And that's what we do with our Retire Fit analysis. First, we show you if you're on track to reach your goals with what you want out of your retirement. And if not, we show you how to put together a Retire Fit plan so that you get to and through retirement successfully on your own terms.
That number again to reach Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is 623-792-5496. Again, that's 623-792-5496. The website is retirewithpsp.com. And as we're saying, retirements last a long time these days. It wasn't always this way where retirements would last several decades. A lot has changed over the past few years when we think about retirement planning. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a look at how retirement planning has changed over the last 35 years or so. On the other side of the break, stay with us. We'll be back.
Thanksgiving is a time to appreciate the blessings we all have in our lives. From the family at PSP and Associates to yours, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phyllis and her team at PSP and Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP and Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Medicare open enrollment has officially begun, opening up opportunities for you to maximize your coverage and maybe even save some money if you make the right choice. Let Phyllis Sachs Pilvinus and her 30-plus years of experience help you pick the plan that's right for you. Give Phyllis a call at 623-792-5496 today to get started, or visit PSP and Associates online at pspassoc.com. That's pspassoc.com.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac. Happy to be here today with Phyllis Sachs Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. She is author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, and she gets questions from people all the time about all things retirement. So we're going to spend a little time here in this last part of the show finding out some of those commonly asked retirement questions. We'll hear some of them, and then we'll get some answers from you, Phyllis. So if you are game, I have a question from Dennis for you.
Bring it to me, Dennis.
All right, here we go. Here is Dennis's question, and we'll just get your response here in just a second.
So I'm thinking about buying an annuity with some of my retirement savings, but I'm really nervous about losing control of my money. If I'm nervous about it, does it still make sense?
Well, Dennis, really good question. So here's what I would say to you. I want you to be, before you do anything, you should be cautiously optimistic, meaning that you really understand what's happening with your money and why you're doing it. So the fact that you're nervous means that you probably don't have enough information to make a well-informed decision. Now, the idea that you're concerned about giving up control of your money, if you have a properly structured retirement plan, some of your money is meant to be long-term foundational money. I always equate it to building a house, right? You're building your fiscal house now. When you build a house, the strongest part of the house is the foundation. You don't ever dig that up. Very few. I've never met a person who's dug it up, right? No. I'm sure there's one out there. Same thing with your long-term money that's going to provide you with income. Maybe there's a piece of that that's long-term. It's the last place you would go to get money. So the fact that you can't access it without a penalty might not be a big deal, okay? But it sounds to me like someone wants you to buy a product, or you're looking to buy a product and you don't have an overall plan. Because if and when it's appropriate to recommend an annuity, it's as part of a plan. And I don't believe that, nervous people should just jump on it without understanding the overall plan. And when we do that, I'd like to believe that people have confidence in what they're doing, and they're not concerned if they're giving up control of one piece of their money because they know where else they're going to go. Mm-hmm. So get clarification, Dennis. Don't do it until you understand the overall plan, because an annuity is not the panacea. A stock's not the panacea. The plan's the panacea, how you put it all together. I do like the fact that you said some of my retirement savings, because don't ever, ever, ever put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, good point, and good question, Dennis. We appreciate you asking that one today. We've gone out, we've found out some of those commonly asked retirement questions, and we're getting some answers here from Phyllis during the show today. Our next question comes from Dan, and I'll just let Dan ask the question.
Is there a good rule of thumb for how much of my IRA should be in safe investments when I turn 60, or is it more just a matter of personal preference?
Good question, Dan. And I wouldn't say it's a matter of personal preference unless you have a plan laid out, okay? So in other words, how much risk you're comfortable with, that's one factor to consider. But just because you're a high risk taker, if the numbers don't play out, it doesn't matter how much you're comfortable with. If you lose it, you won't be comfortable. So is there a general rule of thumb? Well, Vanguard, Jack Bogle came out with a rule of thumb years ago, the rule of 100. Take 100, subtract your age from it, whatever's left over is probably the max that you should have in the market. I don't use general rules. It's a place to start. If you have a lot more than that, I hope you just take a second and say, well, wait a minute, maybe I ought to rethink this, okay? But everybody has what we call their own financial DNA, their own set of circumstances, and we customize according to that. So you want to be less risky. If you were very risky during your accumulation phase and you accumulated a lot of money, you probably want to be less risky because you don't have time on your side for all of your money. Your overall blend is going to be less, but is there a hard number? Really, it depends upon your circumstances. That's what the Retire Fit analysis, our process, will guide you through. Very good question. Make sure you have a plan first versus just, an allocation, 60-40, 40-60, any of those numbers. That's my advice to you. Get more clarification and really adjust it to your personal circumstances. Hope that helps, Dan.
Yes, and a good place to get that clarification, pick up the phone, give Phyllis a call, 623-792-5496. These kinds of questions, this is what the Retire Fit analysis is really all about, is helping get to the bottom of what's going on with your money, what makes sense for you and your personal situation and your circumstances, because that's different for everybody. So 623-792-5496 is that number. Phyllis, let's go on to our next question. This is from Terry, and this is a big one, so I'll let Terry ask the question.
I have a question about taxes. Is there really a way to have a tax-free retirement, or is that just a gimmick?
Oh, Terry, great question. Do you have 2 days? No. Seriously, Terry, I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, okay? So especially the younger you start, the more likely that you can just really have a tax-free retirement. Put things in Roth 401ks, put things in Roth, properly structured life insurance. You really you can structure it that way. But if I'm meeting somebody who's a year or so away from retirement, or they're already retired and they've got all this pre-tax money, yeah, you could have a tax-free retirement by paying the taxes a lot of money up front to get it totally tax-free later on. But might it not be practical? Can you believe I'm saying this, Jen? What we have to do is we want to get you tax efficient. Okay. It doesn't have to be all or nothing depending upon your age, okay, and how much you have in these pre-tax accounts. What we have to do is really do an analysis that will show you your future taxation, real rates, money, how much is it really going to cost you in your retirement account? Look at the long end of it. Look at what it's going to cost your beneficiaries if that's important to you. Look at the tax bill and then back into it and get you more tax efficient. So I would say, yes, it's not a gimmick. You can get entirely tax-free. Some instances, getting entirely tax-free will be too cost prohibitive on the front end. But I can tell you this, everybody, well, almost everybody, most everybody can get tax efficient. We help people save lots of money by bringing into the planning the redheaded stepchild, tax savings. There is something you can usually always do to get more efficient. And we'd love to help you with that. If you're asking this question, you're in the right direction, but get the facts before you make leaps and bounds. It's not an all or nothing proposition, Terry. Look at the end in mind and back into it. And feel free to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. This is my forte. Tax planning, redheaded stepchild, ignoring that will cost you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by really looking at the information, by really doing the planning, we can help you save a lot. 623-792-5496.
All right, great question, Terry. Appreciate you asking that one. Talking with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She's founder and president of PSP and Associates, and we are just going over some of those commonly asked retirement questions because I'm guessing if these folks have these questions, you have something pretty similar as well. You probably have the same questions, so that's why we're taking some time to answer them here on the show today. Our last one, Phyllis, comes from Bruce, and here is his question.
What's your opinion of making money off rental properties in retirement? I see a lot of houses I can buy for $80,000 to $100,000, turn them around as rentals. I can work on them and help and fix them up pretty good. I mean, I'm 68, my wife is too, but she doesn't like the idea. What do you think?
Well, Bruce, I got to say this. You set yourself up for this. First of all, a happy wife is a happy life. No,
start there.
No, I'm just kidding, Bruce. But here's the thing. To say an investment is good or bad, that's why my voice is hoarse. I hear other people talking about this investment is good or bad. That's not appropriate. To say an investment is good or bad. It's either appropriate for you and your set of circumstances or it's not. All jokes aside, you both have to consider, whether it's appropriate for you together because you're a team. That's number one. Number two, does it make sense for you in your situation? Well, let's look at all the other assets that you have. If we just look at your return on investment, real estate could be a good thing. It could be a good thing, but we got to look at the tax consequences of what that does to you. We've got to look at whether you have the cash flow available if you can't rent it. We got to look at whether, if you need liquidity, what if the market does what it does in 2008? So could it be a good investment if you make 5 to 6% on your money safely? You've got a long-term investor and you're comfortable with the real estate. Yeah, it absolutely can. But is it appropriate for you in your circumstances? Your wife's inclination is good. Stop. Let's vet this more. No knee-jerk decisions. I'd love to help you. And I'm not going to say good or bad. I'm going to say I'm glad you're thinking about investments, but build the plan first and then plug in the tools that are going to work best for you for a number of reasons. Call us, 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. In your particular circumstances, Bruce, we'll look at the pros and cons and strings attached, but not just an investment in a vacuum, the whole overall picture together to help you make the best decision for you and your lovely wife. Hope that helps.
That's right. And just don't forget, happy wife, happy life. Always start there. Always there.
So true.
This has been Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Make sure you remember that number that Phyllis just shared today, 623-792-5496. We hope you tune in again next week to hear some more insights from Phyllis. We'll be back then. I am Jen Rezac. We're so glad you spent some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week. We hope you stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you next time. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency. This radio show is a paid placement.